Perfect.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to GAAC.
Hello.
Tonight's speaker is our own very own Mario Motta. He's a retired cardiologist and a well-known astronomer. He built his own 32-inch telescope, with which he's taken many beautiful pictures you can see on the GAAC gallery. And he's been involved with lots of publications and observations, and worked with the AAPSO and the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics and many others. And he even has his own asteroid named after him.
Yeah.
So please welcome Mario Motta.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. It's actually a good thing you put me on tonight instead of November, because I have to go to a meeting that night. Oh, boy. So before we start, though, I just wanted to, how many people here knew Jack Heinzman? Yeah. Okay. Well, he was a member of Cellophane, Springfield Telescope Makers. I've been going to that since age 18, way back to the late 1960s. And there's a tradition at Cellophane when a member dies, they give out a rather nice memento for the family. And basically a crystal with his name. And actually, Virginia Renahan knows the family far better than me. Has known him a long time. So, Virginia, why don't you come up? Just say a couple of words. And I'm going to give this to her because she's meeting the family next week.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to cry, but Jack was a really good friend, and he's really instrumental in my joining Amateur Telescope Makers of Boston. I knew Jack, going back to the late 90s. And he took me to my first GAAC meeting. We went in on the train, and we did every month after that. We'd stop for Chinese food somewhere. He was so much fun. Apart from teaching me about astronomy, gardening, we grow chestnut red in our garden, garlic. That was from Jack, and rhubarb, the tasty jade, cucumbers. He could fix anything, we have so many widgets around the house that he had a machine shop in the basement, and he could make anything. Including a handicap telescope that I think went to Cellophane, didn't it?
That's great.
So
Being used. They built a small one for that, and it's handicap accessible.
So I'm sorry for those of you who didn't know Jack. He was so much fun and really terrific, and I miss him terribly. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. I do. All right, and before the second thing I would say before we start the talk is, I don't know if people know, with the dark sky bill, which had no opposition this year, every legislature claimed they supported it. Even though the lighting industry has come around and say they supported it. So how does something like that feel? It didn't get passed. And the reason is just bizarre Massachusetts politics. It turns out in the old days, meaning over a year ago, the House and the Senate Ways and Means just have joint meetings. They have a chair of each body. Starting about a year ago, the chair of the House and the chair of the Senate were feuding. They wouldn't talk to each other. They wouldn't even read each other's emails and wouldn't listen to their letters. The House side, Mr. Roy, forget where he represents, representative of, strongly in favor of the bill, as is Maura Healy, as is basically everyone in the legislature. Didn't just attach it as an amendment. They wrote it into a must pass environmental bill, and it's part of that bill. Passed the House easily, I think just about unanimously. Because they're feuding, the Senate chair of Ways and Means wouldn't take it up because the other one passed. So basically, because we have legislatures acting like children, pouting at each other, it didn't pass. Mara Healy, and now, once you pass July 30th, it has to be, it's in what's called special session, and any one person can derail a bill. She wants them to come back into session, pass this bill. So she said she would sign it immediately. They haven't agreed to it. We'll see what happens, but that's the current state of our dark sky bill. I just point out we're the only Northeast state that doesn't have such a bill. The Globe, in fact, contacted me and Kelly Beatty a couple of days ago, and in today's Globe is a article describing the political dysfunction and the merits of this bill. And they just sent me a link before I came here. I'll send that out through GAAC and you can read it yourself. Kelly Beatty, myself, Tim brothers from my team, both of them. So hopefully, and the second thing about light pollution is this particular book. It just came out a few weeks ago. It's called Light Doctor, and it's by Martin Moore, a Harvard professor who ran the circadian rhythm disruption, one of the first in the country at Harvard Medical School. Did a number of studies on light pollution and how it affects human health. And he's much better at it than me. This is an incredible book. Since I'm going to I've been asked to be a keynote speaker in New Zealand in October on light pollution. Yeah, they pay my way, so I said, sure, I'll go. I was going to refresh and update, do some research the next couple of months. I don't have to, this has 300 references. So I'm just going to read the book and update everything in here is within the last 5 years. So if anyone's interested in light pollution, this is the book we got. Okay, so let's get started with the meeting. Are we sharing? Can I share screen?
It's always something. Hang on.
I gave you all this time.
I know you did, but you know. There you go.
All right. All right, let me change that to. Okay, so. Now that I'm retired as of 2 years ago, although I'm still doing a little medicine outside, telehealth, just so I don't lose my license yet. And I'm still very active in politics. 2 years ago, for the first time since I was retired, I was able to go to the Winter Star Party, which is down the Keys. It's kind of like the cellophane. Louder. It's kind of like the cellophane of the South. Okay, lots of people come there from all over the country, including many from the northern tier states, take a vacation down the Keys, bring their big telescopes. So the first time I was there, I went around because I just wanted to look through other people's telescopes. I didn't bring one down myself. And I said, what are you looking at? M42. Okay. I go to the next group. And he said, good sized telescopes, 16, 20-inch scopes. What are you looking at? M42. After the fifth person said they were looking at M42, I kind of lost my mind. So I kind of yelled at them and said, you drove 2 days with a big trailer bringing down all these telescopes, and all you're looking at is stuff you can see from back home. Why'd you make the trip? So the director, they asked, well, give suggestions. I did, because I've been photographing a lot of southern stuff from my summer place in Naples. And that became now the group of objects to look at from the Winter Star Party. And Sky Telescope, a person from there was Diana, overheard this and asked me to do an article. So I don't know if anyone gets Sky Tel, but what I'm going to show you tonight is what I published in Sky Tel in February. And since I don't look at these very often, I'm going to have to refer to my notes. So this is my current scope, 32-inch. It's great, but it can't go below the horizon. That's the one flaw in it. This is what I use in Florida. It's a C14 edge. I had a 16-inch mirror I built, telescope I built, 16-inch mirror. And I was starting to make it, but you can't really put a dome down there, hurricanes in the summer, and there's no good place to put it, so I reverted to, primitive astronomy. I track things in and out. But from that, I was able to take some reasonable pictures. And this is from SkyPal, all the objects that are seen. Now, anything above this line, you can see from here, but they're really low in the sky, and they're seen much better down there and photographed better. Anything below that line, you can't see it all from there. So it's a little bit of a misnomer when I say things you can't see, but it's things you can't see well, I should have said. Here's a list of the objects right out of the Sky Hell article. So the way I arranged it is things that are setting in the west if you're at the witness star, right? So if you go down south, these are the things you got to jump on first because they're going to start setting. So this is NGC 55. It's a very large galaxy. I wasn't able to get it in color. Maybe this winter I'm going to try again. But it's a very large, nearly edge-on galaxy. It's kind of a little bit irregular, which is interesting. It's 32 arc minutes long, 8th mag. Even the small scopes, you can see it, and lots of dust lanes. And Burnham's handbook says it's one of the outstanding galaxies in the southern heavens. It's really too bad we can't get a good view with this up there.
It looks like a whale. a little
What?
bit. It looks a lot like a whale.
No, that's not the whale. The
I
whale,
know, it's not.
yeah, I agree because of the one side being thicker.
Does it have a nickname?
Well. No, I don't know if that's. Anyways, it's near Beta C type. So you can see it from here. It only gets 2 degrees above the southern horizon. Okay, this is the next one to jump on, NGC 908. So that's a smaller galaxy, 6 by 3 arc minutes, and it's just it's right along the Fornax border. So Fornax is much better seen down south with the spiral. This was taken with the C14. This is a combination. I took this with the 32-inch up here because it rises high enough, but it's never high enough to get good color. So I got the color down south, combined it with my 32, and I'm doing that a lot now lately. If I can reach it with the 32, I will in detail, and then get better color down there. So this is a combination, and this is, if you want to know a nickname, this is known as the Point Galaxy, and it's another very large galaxy, and also with Fornax, well worth seeing. This is one of my favorites. I'm really partial to barred galaxies. And this is taken with the 32. I'm going to try to get some color on it from down south. The color I get from up here is poor, it's slow. But it's a 9.5 mag beauty located near Data Fornax. And it's just one of the nicest barred galaxies in the sky, I think. Okay. 1291. This is an interesting galaxy. This is in Eridanus. And I'm limping because I had a kayaking accident. Say, how do you get injured in a kayak? We stopped, went from Wingashi Beach up to near Halibut Point, tired to a stop, sat on the rocks, and then coming down on the rocks are slippery, and I went down. So I discovered is at age 32, you don't bounce as well as when you. But this has a double ring. See the outer ring and the inner ring in a bar. Very unusual. I'm not sure how they form. We'll have to get Bill to give us a lecture on that.
Resonances.
I'm not sure how something like that forms.
They're resonances.
Okay.
This looks like Hoag's object, right?
What?
It looks like Hoag's object.
Oh.
All right, so. Next is 1350. Another spiral with a double ring. There seems to be a bunch of them in Fornax, and they're all concentrated in that one area. This is 87 million light years away, both the central and outer ring again. They're not near each other either, but they just happen to be near each other in line of sight. All right, now this one, I don't know how something like this forms. It's got a central, this is 1532, and it's got a central dust lane. Well, it's asymmetric. I'm not sure why. It has a companion galaxy here, and maybe that's just distorting that. Just all like that. It's known as Halley's coronet, and it has it's 50 million light years away nowadays. This is another one of my favorites, NGC 1300. This is Eridanus, and it's just a beautiful galaxy. This one you can see from up here. It gets reasonably high. Worth looking for star hoppers. It's a 10.4 mag galaxy. It's easily seen in 8-inch at 120 power. It's near the 3.7 mag star for Eridana. It just goes directly south from that 2 degrees and come right across it. There's again a lot of bar galaxies in Eridanus and the Fornax area. This is one of my favorites. This is absolute favorite. 1365. It must have had an interaction with a nearby galaxy. Don't know which one, but the arms are splayed out for that reason. And it's a 10 mag bar spiral. It's also in Fornax, 75 million light years away. Splayed out arms. And it's so it has a very nice long central bar. And there's a lot of new star formation, which is why the arms are blue, which also indicates it had a recent interaction with some galaxy. Some globulars you can't see well from here. This is in Columba, which is below our horizon. It's 0.851. And what's that? So what we're looking at, this is a really nice object. It's called Robin's Egg, and it's also in Fornax. It's a planetary nebula, and it's really blue. This was taken with an O3 and H alpha filter, and also sulfur, but the sulfur was minimal. But because it's really strong in oxygen, it's blue. And in the eyepiece, I can tell you, it's bright blue. It's kind of like the blue snowball right above, but it's much bigger and it's brighter. Again, it's bad. It sort of goes just above the horizon, not very far. Next is NGC 2292 and 293, which are merging on the left. Then on the right is 2295, which is a nearby galaxy and part of the same system. This is actually in southern Canis Major, so these you can see from here. They're on the dimmer side, but they're easily seen. I think 11th band. And I probably put that. I was asked to do a article with Scott Huff the next spring. Just sign with them on multiple galaxies in one field of view. I'll probably include that. All right, so this is tight compact globular. This is one of the furthest ones, kind of on the other side of our galaxy, and it's 2298. Again, this one is in Puppis. You can't see it from here. Now this you can see from here, 2359. You can see it really nice down there. It's called Thor's Helmet, and it's a Wolf-Rayet star. Stars, when they are young and very old, are interesting. In between are kind of boring. It's kind of like people. But this star here is hurtling in that direction. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's one of the ones in here. It's hurtling in that direction. And when stars get old and they're incredibly massive, they sometimes spin and send out these jets. But this is moving so fast through this nebula that the trail is falling behind, which is why it's just like a helmet. But it's basically an old star blowing out gas. Again, I don't like old people. Anyways, this is great. And if you have an O3 filter, looking at it visually, it really stands out. Now, this is an M46. Again, you can see this from here. It's in Puppas, but it's right on the edge of Canis Major and Puppas. And what makes it interesting, you know, it's an open cluster, is the fact that it has a planetary nebula embedded in it. 2438. Again, easily seen, and that planetary really stands out if you use a O3 filter. This is 2467. You can see that from here, but it's just spectacular down there. It's much higher in the sky. This is an open cluster with a great nebulosity around it, and an O3 filter will bring it out very well. It's also known as the stellar crossbones. I think Phil had shown this in one of his presentations as well. But this is from Florida. All right, now these next few are things you just kind of see from here. This is GAAC 15, 20 by 20 arc minutes, and it's in Vela. An O3 filter really brings it out, but it's below our horizon at all times. The GAAC nebulas and the RCW nebulas are similar to our SH2 nebula that we see up here, except these are below the horizon, were never included in that catalog. And from Australia and South Africa, these were done. GAAC is named after the astronomer first catalog. RCW19, again, very similar to RSH2. This is RCW19 in a second. It's also in Puppas. It's 40 by 40 arc minutes. It's taken with the C14. And in order to see it well, you gotta use your widest field, like this was image with. And an O3 filter helps a lot, just like SH2. This is one of my favorites. I look at it down there, SH2 294. You can see that from here, but it's just really nice when it's up high. I call it the little octopus. It's not officially known as that. To me, it looks like an octopus. Maybe it's some of that. Those tiny octopus put on spaghetti. That's what they look like. All right, now let's deep dive into Vela. Now, this is something you definitely can't see from here. The Vela supernova remnant exploded something like 20,000 years ago, and it's huge, and it wasn't that far from Earth. It's basically only it's a couple hundred light years away, and it covers a good 20 degrees of sky down there. There are remnants of it in different places. This is one of those remnants. Herschel first saw it. It's known as Herschel's pen, because in a eyepiece, it basically looks like a quill pen that you write with, right? And this looks like the feather part. So it's known as Herschel's pen, but it's basically a shock wave, just like the Vela Nebula up here. We're now talking the southern hemisphere, the Vela Nebula. And this is the Vela Nebula. This is a very wide field. In fact, I didn't take this with my big scope. I took my guide scope. It's a 85 millimeter small refractor f6, which I use for guiding purposes. Almost always, I put the camera on that and just let it run for a while. Taken with H alpha and O3 filters. And this is just, again, one section. It's probably about a third of the Vela supernova remnant. And it's just shockwave after shockwave after shockwave. So you got the supernova remnant, star that exploded. The gas is still expanding out at hypersonic velocity. It hits the cool gas in the rest of the Milky Way, and it's not a star that's lighting it up. It's the speed at which the atoms hit it. The atoms get ionized, and then they recombine and give off light. So it's a shockwave emission of light. But I just think it's a great nebula, kind of like our veil. I'm going to try to get some more parts of this. This is another part of the veil. This is with the C14 zooming into a particular section. All right, RCW 36 is in Vela. This is 12 by 6 arc minutes. This is taken with the C14. Again, there's just lots of these down below our horizon, kind of a whole new world to explore. RCW 38. This I took with the wide field and the small scope because it's a very wide field. Taking individual pictures of any one of these, I might do that. These are all star forming regions, by the way. 3201 in Vela. It's 7th mag, 20 arc minutes across. So basically, it's the same size as M13. But we unfortunately can't see it from here. And it's one of the best binoculars in the sky. It's really low in the sky, even down there. So you can't see it from here at all. I got this thing 12 degrees above the horizon.
Mario, is that mostly nebulosity then?
Say that again?
So there's a lot of glow around the stars, so.
No, it's just unresolved stars.
You think it's all stars?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a globule. There's no nebulosity.
Okay.
This is 2997, which is in Antilla. Again, another constellation you can't see from here, but it's just a nice spiral. It's kind of in the Milky Way, so there's a lot of stars in the way, and that dims the galaxy, but still able to get a nice picture of it. I may go back and some of these and get color on it. 3109 is a large irregular galaxy, 19 arc minutes long. And it's in the southernmost tip of Hydra. To the scope, just looks like this big streak going across the eyepiece. And I like the galactic clusters. This is the Hydra cluster. And you can see a whole slew of galaxies, and there's many more that extend out. Now, our galactic local group is kind of in a line of, people know what the large scale structure of the universe is kind of like sheets of galaxies or strings of galaxies that are interconnected at nodes. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. And if we look north to the Coma and Ursa Major region, we get some very large, nice galaxies. That's because we're in that line. We go further south, we go through our group, and further south, we go through the Virgo group. Okay, and you can see those. You keep going, you eventually come to the Hydra cluster and some other clusters down below our horizon, which we can't see. So there's several other clusters like that I need to get from down there, but this is one of them. Again, it's kind of fun to explore a whole new sky. 4361, which is a planetary. This is in Corvus, actually, in southern Corvus, so we can see that from here. I got this from down there. Winter Roger. 3621 is a galaxy in Hydra that's 12 arc minutes long. And now, one of my favorites in the sky, M83. Isn't that great? This is another one where I got the detail up here, but the colors were always a little bit off. So I did color work with the C14 and added that to my 32. So this is an amalgam of two telescopes. They get better color balance that way. Color tends to be, when it's low in the sky like this is, the blue gets attenuated out. Same reason why the sun turns red on the horizon. So it's hard to get proper color balance when it's low in the sky. So this is much higher in the sky down there, and able to get the blues better, and the red is the green is attenuated. So that's M83 combined with two telescopes that are separated by 20 degrees apart. And this is my absolute favorite galaxy. This is NGC 5128, it's Centaur, and it's kind of a late winter, early spring object. You can't see that from here, it just skirts our horizon, it's below our horizon. And what it is a giant elliptical galaxy that's spearing right through what used to be a spiral that's getting destroyed. And in fact, it was first discovered in the radio. It's called Centaurus A. A in any astronomical jargon stands for radio noise. So this is one of the brightest radio noise objects in the sky. And we took pictures in that spot. This is what you see. It's actually not that far away. It's 12 million light years away, which is why it's so big. But it's basically two galaxies in the process of merging, or a better term would be a elliptical galaxy that's cannibalizing the spiral. It's fantastic visually as well. That alone is worth the trip down south to observe. And Param 5139, better known as the Omega Centauri, which is the largest globular. Although current thinking is it probably is the core of the galaxy that the Milky Way absorbed. So all the dust and gas got sucked in by the Milky Way, and this is kind of the core of what the remnant is. And it's not spherical; it's kind of oval shape if you look at it, but it is unbelievable in an eyepiece down there.
It's a naked eye object, right?
Yes, in the dark sky you can see it. So is M13 if you're in the dark sky area, but this is brighter. This is fourth band.
Would there be a black hole in that?
What was that?
Would there be a
Would
black?
there be a black hole in that cluster?
Yeah, there is a black hole in that in Omega. And this is the last of the southern objects, 4945. It's also in Centaurus, and it's a rather large galaxy, which gets overlooked because of, I mean, they're right next to Omega and next to Centaurus A. So everyone forgets to look at this, but it's a 20 arc-minute long galaxy, tilted about 10 degrees. And it's surrounded by several smaller galaxies. One of them's off on the right there. So it's a pleasing area because you can just go around and see all these galaxies in one small area. Too diffuse to catch in one frame, but kind of nice. Maybe I should do with small stones. All right, so that's the galaxy, the imaging from down south. If you do go down south and come to the Winter Star Party, someplace where you can see southern objects, those are, I think, the best southern objects you can see in winter time. So
Mario, when is the winter star party?
it depends on the new moon. I think it's last week of January, first week of February, just coming here.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'm one of the speakers. All right, so the next part is after several year hiatus because of COVID, finally went back to Italy. And I was talking to Mike and said, I want to show some Italian observatories. I visited numerous Italian, I visit observatories when I can. And I weasel my way and I'll get an invite. But here we are at the Vatican. Now, these observatories I didn't see all on this past trip, but through the years I visited these. And it's interesting, in the Vatican they have a new sculpture which is supposed to be a representation of, I'm not sure what the artist was trying to say, but to me, this is a great example of the moon crashing into the earth. and creating, don't you think? That's what I'm gonna use it for from now on. You know, it's not-
Nolan Ryan fastball.
But,
A Nolan Ryan fastball.
maybe.
That's,
So on top of the Vatican, this is some years ago in the 90s. My wife was taking a picture of me. You can walk up to the top of the Vatican and walk around. And she's taking a picture of me, and after I turned around, I noticed something. It kind of caught my eye.
Yeah.
As it turns out, and I'm not making this up. This is Mount Mario. There were 7 hills in Rome. This is Mount Mario. And before all the light pollution, the Italian observatory was there. Now they've got others. This is mostly used for theoretical cosmology work. But they do have a solar observatory on the right there that's used a lot. The rest, they hardly ever open up anymore. I mean, you're right in the middle of Rome there. But I said I had to go visit this, so we took a trip up, and naturally, you could tell I had a little more hair back then. It's in the 90s. The guard would let me in and said it's only open a few hours on Friday mornings, and this was I think I forget what day it was. So I said, can I speak to one of the astronomers? I happen to know a couple of them. They came here to Harvard doing sabbaticals. So we ended up waiting. And sure enough, well, this is the solar. That's Dr. Aquilonero. He did a 6-month sabbatical at Harvard, and they so invited him over to the house or palmed him off on me. So he had dinner with us. So I knew him. When I saw him drive up, I said, "Can we get in?" Just kind of come back 2 days later to see the. And he said, "Oh, absolutely, sure." So he gave us a private tour. That's a statue of Copernicus.
Is that in your house or is that in Italy?
This is in Italy, and it's 81 and F-13 surrounding Copernicus there. They have some of the most amazing collection of memorabilia. This is Cassini's. Cassini's discovered the division of Saturn. This is one of his, I don't know what it was, but it was owned by Cassini. Yeah, probably, but it's different from most. I'm not sure why, but that was Cassini's. I have like 50 slides. I can't show them all. I'm just going to give it a brief of some. This is the ceiling in one of the hallways. So I turned to my wife and I said, you really should do that for a dome. I couldn't convince her. I mean, she's been Paris. She should do, let's take the inside of my dome. Italian frescoes. So it's an amazing observatory. They don't use it as an observatory anymore. It's just theoreticians sitting around trying to figure out about the cosmos and write papers. Some of Galileo's early telescopes. I mean, they just have amazing stuff that would be a major attraction if they were here in the US. They only open it a couple of hours a week. All right, so too many things to show there, but there's a lot of good stuff from Galileo, from Cassini. There's just endless stuff there. They had like 3 floors of memorabilia. And just looking at the frescoes and the domes and stuff, this was incredible. So the next observatory I want to talk about is on Mount Etna. It's on the south side of Etna. The eruptions these days pretty much goes on the north and east side. So it's been stable, which is good, because an original observatory that was built in the 1800s got buried in lava. It's not good for the optics. But this one is interesting. I got a special invite. Well, I actually went there twice. The first time was in winter time. It's named after Mario Fracastolo. So there's a tale there. This is the giant binocular telescope on Mount Graham in Arizona. And this is pertinent to the observatory on Etna because Italy donated 25% of the cost of this. In fact, they made all the mechanical parts and shipped them over. The University of Arizona made the optics, which is 8.3 meters, binoculars, 2 of them. And Germany donated a number of stuff, and the US. So basically, it's a 25% partnership. And it's an incredible telescope. One of my friends was the lead engineer, and I was going there for a medical meeting, and he invited me to come up. We went there, and it was early February, and the guards wouldn't let us in to go to the top. It was still under construction at the time because the squirrels were resting. I'm not making this up. So I was really disappointed. And he said to me, all right, if you come back next year, I will get you a squirrel pass. So there's a story behind this. This bunch of hunters who had illegal sheds there, and they basically just shot at wildlife and drank a lot of beer. They somehow convinced the Park Service that there was this one red squirrel, of which there are 50 billion in the US, that has an extra white whisker, and therefore it's unique and needs to be protected. So that's why they closed the mountain during wintertime when they're hibernating. The following year, he was able to get me a squirrel. I have this frame, don't laugh, I have this frame, it's one of my most prized possessions in my observatory. So I get in and we're able to go in, and sure enough, they had 3 weeks of bad weather. That night was the first clear night, and they decided to have first light that night. And because it's active optics and accentuated optics, basically spent the night crawling under the mirror with my engineer friend as he was making minor adjustments to the actuators while a professional astronomer was inside. He was from Germany, actually, and gauging the image of the star and how. So that was my contribution. I handed him instruments. About 2 a.m, we went out and I finished with that. And I crawled into the observatory and I took a picture of that pointing to what it was imaging, which turned out to be they were testing on M81. So I took a picture of, I got it in, I should have put it in here, of the scope looking out for the first time through the slit at the Ursa Major. You can see Ursa Major in my photo. They liked it so much that's now hanging in their entryway as their first light photo. And I got their first light photo of M81 outside of that. So here's the thing though, I got a squirrel pass. Okay, that's pertinent for what I'm going to tell you. So here's in wintertime, the first time we were there. They got a lot of snow in that. He's skiing up there. This is I believe it's a 20-inch snow. That's inside that dome. And this is another one. I think this is either a 16 or an 18. I may have those reversed. No, this is the 20. The other one was probably 16. And it has a nice spectroscope attached to it. All right, now we're back in summertime, the second time. And the next observatory I'm going to show you, one of my mirrors is there, a 32-inch that I ground. It came out just barely put a wave. And I'll give the story how that got donated. But because it got donated to them through the AASO, Ulysses Munari, who was one of the lead, who is the lead astronomer at University of Iowa, told him, treat me special because we donated a mirror. So we get there, and the entire staff, it was like getting a reception at a hotel, the entire staff was outside. It's pretty funny. So between the first and second time, the University of Catania built 3 32-inch telescopes, all completely remote controlled from down near in Catania itself. This is way up high. They open up. And the director says, how do you like them? I go, I got one at home. So it's kind of a nice scope. They got 3 of them, they're all robotic. And it is a lava field. So here's the punchline though. So we're sitting around having coffee and cannolis after the private tour. And he tells me that he can't wait to get to Mount Graham because he has observing rights at it. I go, I've been there. I was there for first flight. He goes, how'd you get in? I got a squirrel pass from a friend of mine. And he looks at me, he goes, you got a squirrel pass? I've been trying to get in there for a year. Then he said, you must be real royalty to get a squirrel pass. They wouldn't give me one. So that's why it's one of my prized possessions. You can't make this stuff up. That's a direct one. He's still stunned that I got a squirrel pass. All right, then the town I was born in. I was born there. My parents abducted me when I was 3 up here. And it turns out there's a radio telescope in that town. I've not been able to get in there. It's never been open, but next time I go to Italy, I'm gonna try to weasel my way into that one. At least take a look at it. All right, so. The 32-inch mirror, I think I gave a talk on this a few years back, right? I got this from the space program. I should rephrase that, from the United States Air Force. Back, I ground a 16-inch, which I had in Winfield. And I wanted to go to at least a 24. And in the early 90s, we obtained a place up in New Hampshire, which is now sold. Built an observatory there. And I was looking around, I built basically a 24-inch mirror, right? A friend of mine showed up, he said, and this came from iTech, where they made these telescope mirrors for the US Air Force. This was part of what's called the Halo program, where they only looked down, they didn't look into deep space. So these were 32-inch blanks mirrors that were used in spy programs. This one had a little astigmatism in it, and they never touched it again. So he came and he was told, because the program was ending and they didn't want the Russians to find out what size mirrors. He said, he was told, literally, I'm not making this up, it's only got tax dollars, take it to a landfill and break it up. So he came to my house and goes, landfill sounds the same. Take it. So I got this blank. I lightweighted it by sandblasting in the back, and it came out. It was my first 32. If you hit it, I grinded it, and it came out just barely a quarter wave, and it probably had a little bit of flexion. So I was never really happy. But I got pictures with it, and the imaging was kind of nice, but I mean the viewing was kind of nice. But I eventually got hold of a different blank that was almost all finished. I finished it off, and I put this one down in my basement. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Ulysses Manari, who again is from the University of Padua, he was doing a sabbatical at Harvard. He came over to my house, and he's telling me about this observatory up in Varese, which is 40 miles north of Milan. Padua is near Venice. And he says they built this huge observatory. It's completely finished, except they ran out of funds for the blank. And he's just telling me, I mean, he's not asking for anything. He says, hopefully next year we'll get a blank, raise the money, and it'll be a nice, primarily a spectroscope. I'm looking, he goes, what do you need? It's a 32-inch f4. I got one downstairs. He looks at me a little bit shocked and goes, yeah, you Americans all have big mirrors just hanging around in the basement. I go, no, really, I got one downstairs. We can arrange for you to have it. So it ended up getting shipped. This was in New Hampshire, my original observatory. That's owned by Arnie Hendon now, by the way, who bought it lock, stock, and barrel. Now, so that's another funny story. He came up to observe in early 2000s. And we were starting to build here in Gloucester. And I didn't need 2 observatories. And my wife, now being near the beach, didn't want to go up there. It was just getting a pain in that to maintain it. So he's looking at observing, and he goes, I'm looking for a place to retire to. I want a telescope like this, a house like this. I want a television. We're thinking of selling it. Sold. Took literally 3 seconds to sell everything. He bought the telescope and the observatory. He's happy, I'm happy. That telescope mirror is 32-inch. Mine is 32 1/4 because it was cast. So I always remind him mine's still bigger. This is important. So here is at Varese. It's on top of a mountain near the town of Racing. We go into the town. Well, I'll show you those pictures later, but it's named after astronomer Salvatore Mercurio, and it's a great place. So we gave the mirror, again, the entire staff comes out, take a picture. And this is the telescope that they will put in it. Now notice the woodwork, the floors, everything is pristine. Beautiful telescope, gears. They ran out of money for the mirror, so they stuck a 16-inch in there.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
So they took that out. This is before I got there. They took that out. One of the engineers there. They took the 16-inch out. Here's my mirror when it got there. And they built, because it's lightweighted, they built an 18-point suspension. Now, again, I told them ahead of time, it's not quite put away, it's not perfect. I mean, my images here, the images through that one would be blurry as stars. Okay, but they needed it for spectroscopy, so it doesn't matter. For them, it's perfect. And it turned out their US tax laws are funny. If I gave it to them directly, there would be complications. So I donated it to the ABS, they got it on permit, which gave me a nice tax deduction, by the way. And they donated it permanently on borrowing to the Italians. So technically it's from the ABS. And you can see the bottom of the mirror, right? And the 18-point suspension.
Was that a problem lining them up with the uneven bottom of that mirror? Lining the.
No,
triangles
the
up?
points land on, I had points specifically for 18 points, and that's what they lined up with. And there it is, all installed. I'm happy, they're happy.
Great.
Use it for spectroscopy. They have several other scopes there. This is a 20-inch. And I mean, just look at the workmanship. I mean, if they maybe skipped a little on the workmanship, they could have had their own 20-inch, 32-inch before. But that's not how the Italians do it. They're gonna look at that scope. This is a, now look at the workmanship. This is their eyepiece case. And they have a smaller dome with a C, I think it's a C 16 for visitors. So there's a Piazza Mari Motta. There's an auto school Motta. There's a pizzeria Motta. Even a pasticceria Motta. So my wife's going, they really like that mirror. But that's not the case. It turns out it was a Mari Motta in the 1800s when Garibaldi unified Italy in the 1860s. Garibaldi was from Sicily, Mari Motta was from Parisi, and he was instrumental in getting Northern League to unify with the rest of Italy. And that's that Mari Motta. We just happen to have the same name. All right, and this is Ulysses Minari, who's in the University of Padua. And that's one of his outreach telescopes and the big domes in the back. So I got invited to spend a few nights there observing with them, observatory of Padua. And that's the astronomers' residence here. They gave me a very nice room, with its own kitchen, and had that telescope. Really very nice. This is situated north of Padua, just south of the Dolomites, and it's in a nice dark sky area. Anyone ever have a Siaggio cheese?
Yes.
That's where it's made. It's kind of, there's one major drawback. All the cows are all around the observatory, and it basically smells of cow while you're observing, like 24/7. But it's dark because of that. Cows don't need lights. So this is their main scope that's in that dome. It's another one of their observatories. This is their luminizing chamber. And this is a 24-inch, if I recall correctly. That's their that spectroscope on it right now. And again, they're all the Italian observatories, just magnificent in how they finish them. Not as good as the one on Mount Mario with the frescoes and, but pretty impressive nonetheless. That's the spectroscope that was on it. And those are the cows. You gotta walk around that. Yeah, they make great cheese. All right, I think that's the end, so.
Thank you.
All right, top of your share now, we can talk to, yeah,
Alan,
yeah.
All right,
Okay, so question from Alan online. Why did that one road sign have an international red bar, no sign over a trumpet?
it said no horns.
Oh, okay.
There's another
And-
question. Okay, sorry.
The other question, why is there a secondary mirror only on one mirror of the binocular telescope?
No, this is secondary on both of them.
Yeah.
And they behind the scenes, they combine the light into one. They can use them independently too, so they can take a blue frame and a red frame simultaneously.
In the photograph, you could only see one. There was only one, maybe that wasn't the secondary mirror I was seeing in that photograph then.
There's definitely two.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions online while we're listening to all of you? Okay, what about in the room?
That was great.
The photo of your place in Florida with the celestial set up, I noticed there's a big lagoon or pond behind you.
Yeah,
I assume you're out there in the pitch dark
yes.
at night. Are there little critters like alligators there that creep up on you?
Is that the truth about why you're limping?
In that area, if an alligator does migrate here, when they get above 5 feet, they take them out. Under 5 feet, they're hunting for new territory and they frequently leave on their own. But we actually have otters that live there, and otters and alligators don't coexist. The otters will literally, I've seen this happen, and alligators on the shore, they call gangs of otters, when they go up to them, slap them and jump. And they will keep doing that for 24 hours until the alligator says, I'm out of here. So if you got otters, you don't have to worry about alligators, and we got otters.
That is all right.
You can look this up, true story. Otters and alligators, the otters don't like them, they eat the same food, get fish, and they just eat the heck out of it.
there is in the southern hemisphere a cluster a lot like the Pleiades cluster. It's called Ptolemy's cluster. I don't know how far south it is though.
I don't know, I'll have to look it up.
There might be a nice.
I'm going to the South Island in New Zealand in October, and I'm gonna start collecting. And, because I'm gonna have access to a 24-inch scope for one night,
Oh, well.
so I need to, we gotta pick out objects that I'm gonna try to look at, at least 10 seconds per lucky. 24 hours.
Hey, Mario, are you from an area between Milan and Venice? You know, it's like, were you between Milan and Venice? Where you were born up in Agrate or Monza?
Cagnatina, it's 20 kilometers directly west of Syracuse, but as far south in Sicily as you can get.
Oh, in Sicily, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions in the house?
Just a funny Jack story, your the telescopes, the Galileo scopes.
Mhm.
Steve and Elaine and Nanette and I and Jack all drove down to Philadelphia because they had the exhibit there, and Jack is what, 25 years older than us, and 30 years, I don't know. And we all laid down on the floor and collected photons through the Galileo's telescope, including
Was that original or copy?
The original.
Really? Why did I have to look through the original? Wow.
They were working on the museum in Italy where it normally was,
Yeah, there's several.
and so it was touring. And
Which one did that one come from?
In King Florence.
Florence. I visited that as well, and but they have one in Florence, they have one Mount Mario, they have a couple of others, because he built several of them.
And those are the museum guards just, what are they doing? You okay?
That's great, I never got to look one, that's great. All right, any other questions anywhere?
Thank you.
All right. All right, we can shut the door, folks, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
I want a copy.